Hey everyone, it's Joe Conkley at the shop. Today, we are still working on this 1948 Martin D-28 project, and I just got this brace screwed up here. The X brace was loose from the top right here, where a lot of times they usually do, right here where the bridge and the X brace cross. But I believe last time we had still doing some repair on this pickguard crack, which has been glued up and cleated. And I also did sort of a moisture heat treatment to this bare pickguard area to try and flatten it out. It tends to cup quite a bit when the pickguard itself shrinks. But another thing that I did in the interim, so I was able to remove the bridge plate and to make a new bridge plate to replace it. If you remember, there's a major crack right across the bridge pin holes, through the top and through the bridge plate, and of course through what was left of the bridge. Hard to say exactly how this whole problem started, but we know where it ended. It ended with the bridge being, a lost cause with a bunch of screws in it, and I think probably the crack in the bridge and the crack in the top started at a similar time, and the bridge came loose, and then it was screwed down without being glued down, and then there was string tension put on it, and the whole thing just blew up there. But what was nice about this process for me was when I went to just start on that whole bridge and bridge plate area, I pulled out my trusty Thompson belly reducer plates, and these two in particular are made for this size plate and bridge. You see that this aluminum plate really matches up almost perfectly to the size of this bridge plate. It's nice that it's just a tad smaller, it fits right in there. This side of the plate is machined slightly concave. See that little gap there? Mm-hmm. And this, the bridge, which again is machined pretty precisely to the size of a Martin bridge there. Just a little bit smaller footprint. It has a corresponding convex side right here. Just a sec. Let me get that. You got it? Got it. All right. So these two match up nicely. And so what I did was, I have a little piece of cotton cloth, a flannel shirt chunk that sized up to this bridge plate. I put that chunk of cloth in both of these into my double boiler here, warmed them up to the standard 150 degrees or so, which is the temperature that high glue turns from a jello type thing into a liquid, and I clamped that up. So, clamp that sandwich up. And at first this was raised up so much that the bridge, was sort of hanging up in midair, but all that moisture and slow emanating heat allowed me to clamp it down ever so slowly to the point where I got it flattened out really nicely. So that moisture and heat penetrated through to the glue line of this bridge plate, and I was able then to pull the bridge plate out. You can see that it's got that warp in there, but it flattened out pretty nicely too. So I pulled that bridge plate out, made a corresponding new plate out of a nice stiff piece of new maple, not quarter sawn, but actually the angle of the grain is about 45 degrees rather than 90, which would be quarter sawn. that, I'm going to drill some holes through just like this once it's in there, and that 45-degree angle grain works with the tension of the string ball ends as they're going through these holes, and that if it's quarter sawn, it can tend to split that bridge plate because it's right on a grain line, a single grain line, that would tend to open like that. But now the hole is going through that grain, 45-degree grain pattern like that, sort of pulling the grain into itself, so it tends to stay a little more stable. So I've got that brace glued up. I have to check the brace on this side to see. It doesn't appear, there is not a visible gap at this point. But once this is dried, I'll get my handy feeler gauge spatula. It's a pretty small feeler gauge, so we'll go into a very small gap. I'll get inside there and see if I can, see if there is an actual physical gap there that I can't see. If I can, and I'll glue up that brace if necessary, and go from there. And that will allow me then to put the new bridge plate in. And I will use these as clamping cauls at the same time, and I will be able to glue up that crack that is through the top, right through those pinholes. And there's another corresponding crack that comes off of the low E string here. I'll be able to glue that all up once. Glue those cracks and glue the bridge plate in one operation, which will be a beautiful thing. So let's take a look, if we can, with the GoPro camera here, and see what we've got inside here, just to give you a view. I've got my light in here, and we'll try a couple little views here. If I get the camera in and around that clamp, and what we're trying to give you a view here is of the top where the bridge plate was, and a view of that brace being clamped up. Also, the view of the crack right here at the edge of the pickguard, and how I got that cleated up, and that area leveled out. All right. There's some inside footage of what's going on. That's where we're at with this guitar. Once I get that bridge plate in, then I can start looking at a bridge, cleaning up this top area, get a bridge on it, I get the pickguard back on, and I can go to the neck, removing the neck and doing the neck reset, all that good stuff. So we're moving along with this one, and we've shown you the area where I undid and re-glued this top crack over here and re-glued that binding. As you can see, there's a gap there. That's the reason, one of the reasons the binding came off, because it was shrinking and pulling there. So I'll have to fill that gap with some, I'll try to fit in a little piece of similar ivory binding, and melt that in there. And this crack here, I'm going to have to cleat that too after the fact to reinforce that. That's pretty sort of a wide open crack there. And then I'm going to start cleaning the top, just to bring the whole thing to a nice uniform look. That's where we're at in the shop, working on the 1948 D-28. Thanks for tuning in, and if you've got any questions, please send them our way, and we'll see you soon in the shop.